In the next 60 minutes here on Newsnight, new majority leadership affects changes in Parliament's committees. Chairman of the Energy Committee, Atta Akyea, moved to the Local Government Committee, whilst Patrick Boamah replaces Kweku Kwarteng as head of the Finance Committee. We are live in Parliament for details as NDC MPs assume chairmanship of a number of key committees, including Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa becoming the new chairman of Government Assurances Committee. Also tonight, the GJA, GIBA and the Media Foundation for West Africa joined forces to condemn the increasing spate of irresponsible journalism in the country.
So there are laws. The frequencies that have been given belong to the state. At any point in time, frequencies can be taken back. And so when people go overboard, the laws can be applied.
We have reactions to that. Also tonight, organized labor serves notice of a new era of less dialogue, more action, as it braces for intense advocacy and protest on broader issues of national concern. We hear from the leadership of organized labor as they vow to unleash the full might to protect the Ghanaian worker.
If we have to demonstrate, put boots on the ground, stay on the street for 3 days. Because we've also come to the realization that one day, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Demonstration, people don't really fear.
In business, Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Ernest Addison reveals Citi has started responding to recent developments in the economy.
And in sports, Hartlepool and Kumasi Asante Kotoko promise an exciting game in the maiden edition of the Democracy Cup, with both clubs poised to outclass each other tomorrow at the Crash Sports Stadium.
Also tonight, Upper West Regional Coordinating Council offers 100,000 cedi reward for anyone who gives information leading to the arrest of killers of a driver's mate in the Upper West region. Details, as the regional minister says, ritual motives cannot be ruled out of the investigations.
The experts are telling us that looking at the blood that usually flows, the quantity that usually pours is not enough, and therefore these people are probably collecting the blood, and so that is why the slaughter.
You want to stay for details of that and also tell you the story of Dr. Kwame Sakwa Edu, the JoyNews impact maker for rural livelihood empowerment, who has pledged to use his prize money to buy bicycles to support students in his community.
This award, I'm going to top it up. I'm topping it up. I'm going to buy 10 bicycles to the children in Dongokrom area.
And MFAPA, we've been expecting these changes. That shake-up in Parliament is finally here, and some very interesting names moving around as far as the committees are concerned. Alexander Fenyo-Marking, as you know, the new leadership that took over sometime early this year, they are making the changes, and tonight they've made a number of them. The leadership of the committees have now moved around a bit. Changes in the chairmanship of the Energy Committee, for example. Samuel Atta Akyea has been moved now to the Local Government Committee, with the chairman of that committee, Emmanuel Akwesi, now taking his place. Chairman of the Finance Committee will now be Patrick Boamah, who replaces Kweku Kwarteng, whom we've been told will now head to the Economic Committee. And there's been some controversy around that. In fact, the NDC MPs had told us way before this happened that there was a plot to remove him because of his opposition to government's insistence of pushing through a bill that would have given more than $400 million worth of tax breaks to companies in this country. Now, NDC MPs now chair at least 10 of some of the most important committees, including Northong MP Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, who is now the chairman of the powerful Government Assurances Committee, which monitors all assurances made in Parliament by government officials. Let's bring in our parliamentary correspondent, Kweku Asante, who joins us right now. Kweku, what are some of the other changes that we are learning tonight that is causing a bit of a stir in Parliament?
Well, Evans, if you look at the Finance Committee, just like you mentioned, Patrick Boamah, who used to be the vice chair, is now taking over from his boss, Kweku Kwarteng, who has now been removed as the chairman of the Finance Committee. Look at the minority setup on that committee; they still maintain it. Isaac Adongo is still the ranking member. The Honorable Richard Achampong is the deputy ranking member. There's new so-called committee on the economy. If you look at the new standing orders, there's a new committee that will focus on the economy, National Development Planning Commission, and all that. That committee will now be chaired by the minority, and the name that the minority have put forward is Kweku Reketegan, himself a former deputy finance minister, when he chaired that. There were a lot of talk about Kweku Kwarteng becoming the ranking or the spokesperson of the majority side. That has not happened. We are getting some indication that Kwatin says, if it's not a finance committee that I'm going to chair, then I'm not going to be in the leadership of any committee. Ama Puma Boateng, a former deputy communications minister, is now the ranking on that committee. There's also now a new committee on private members' bill, as per the new standing orders, that is supposed to look at the influx of private members' bill that is now being filed by members. The first deputy speaker, Joseph Osewusu, will now chair that committee, and Francis Xavier Susu, who himself has sponsored the most private members' bill in the life of Ghana's parliament, is now the ranking on that committee. There's also now a budget committee, which is now an offshoot of the bigger finance committee. It is to be chaired by NDC MP Thomas Ampemnyako, and then Tina Mensah of the majority side will now become the ranking member. The local government committee used to be chaired by the MP for Odo Tobri, who is now moved to go and chair the energy committee. So Akwesi Jemfi will now move from the committee on local government to the committee on energy. It is no longer the mines and energy committee. It is now just energy committee to focus on that. And Atta Akyea is no longer on the energy committee. John Jinapo will continue in that role as the ranking member on the energy committee. When you look at the foreign affairs committee, Dr. Rashid Pelpo used to be the ranking member on the lands and natural resources committee. He is now the ranking member on foreign affairs, taking over from Samuel Okudita Blakwa, who has now been moved to chair the government assurances committee. So lands and natural resources, like I said, used to be ranked by Dr. Rashid Pelpo. Alhassan Suhini now gets to be the boss on that committee in terms of the minority being the ranking. The Works and Housing Committee has also almost always been chaired by the government side. It is now chaired by the minority in the current architecture of the House. And Honorable Opon Samoa is the chairman, an NDC MP. Andrew Dari Chiwite is now the vice chair, an NDC MP. The Communications Committee, Mahama Yarga has now been moved from the Constitutional Legal Affairs Committee in terms of leadership structure to come and be the ranking member on the Communications and Information Committee. That means Alhaji ABF Hussein, who used to be the minority ranking on that committee, is no longer there. Sam George retained as deputy ranking. If you look at the Defense and Interior Committee, it is still chaired by Honorable Kennedy Ejapon. The ranking is still James Agaga, but the vice ranking, which used to be Dr. Zaneto Ajiman Rollins, has now been moved, and the former senior police officer Peter Lanchini Tobu is now the deputy ranking on that committee.
So we've seen a lot of changes there in Parliament, and I quickly want to move on to something that has been playing out on the floor today. The controversial lithium agreement came to the floor today. In spite of the changes that we've seen already, we've seen some divisions at play, even among the minority MPs, to the point where Kwame Agboja, who is the minority chief whip, was asking the second deputy speaker not to refer a matter to the Mines and Energy Committee, as we've just been detailing there, a committee which had John Jinapo as a ranking at the time. What has been happening there?
Well, so first, listen to Governor Kwame Agboja make his case for why he believes that should not go to the Mines and Energy Committee. Then we can bring in some of the antecedents and the things that we are learning about this open fight in Parliament today.
Concerns about mining in forests on water bodies and other things just because they want it to be passed. Mr. Speaker, there's nothing in our standing order today that will stop us from allowing them to lay. But be assured, you will not be allowed to cajole anybody to lay a lithium agreement for anyone to go and mine in a reserve forest. Even if it will give us 10 trillion, we don't care. You'll be forced to do the right thing and make sure the environment is protected, not for you and I only, but for the future generations yet unborn. So we are not going to stand in your way of laying it, but the committee that this will be referred to. And Mr. Speaker, we are just about to approve the new committees under the new standing order. People have been attempting for this to be referred to a joint committee. Today, we are encouraging you to refer this to only the Committee of Lands, yes, and Natural Resources. This idea, yes, because this idea of this joint committee creates a problem. Mining has nothing to do with energy. mining is a land and natural resource matter. So, Mr. Speaker, we were hoping that we will complete the setting up of the committees today before we make the referral. Those who are pushing for this to be laid ahead of time should know this will not be referred to Mines and Energy and Lands Committee. It must necessarily go to the Lands and Natural Resource Committee only. And we shall follow up to make sure that the right thing is done for this country. No one is allowed to mine, and then when we do this, and then the people are crying their communities, the Parliament absorbs itself. It is our responsibility to approve the agreement and do the oversight of this, Mr. Speaker. Those are the only things I have to say before we go ahead.
So that there is Governor Atta Akyea, who is a minority whip on the floor today on that subject of the lithium. And quickly, what was happening in the background? While this was happening, there was some disagreement that was visibly on the floor or within the NDC minority members.
Yes, we are picking some indication that the minority chief whip was making this point because the NDC MPs are afraid of an apparent conflict of interest. The lithium mining agreement was signed by the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry, which is headed by Samuel Abu-Jinapor. Before these new committees was passed, the Mines and Energy Committee used to be ranked by John Jinapor. These are brothers. And there are those that are saying that the unspeakable thing in what Kwame Agbodza was doing on the floor was that they do not want a situation where brothers are going to be in terms of the persons deciding on this matter. And that is why, and in fact, what governs Kwame Agbodza was on the street, John Jinapor himself was up already, saying that he felt slighted with the way his own chief whip was going about the matter on the floor of the House.
I do admit that there's a new standing order. And I do admit that there's been a transition. I am not challenging the chief whip of the minority side, and I dare not challenge him. If I ever have issues, I will discuss it with him personally so that we resolve this matter. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, nobody is rushing for any referral to be made to a committee. I'm sure that, Mr. Speaker, you are competent enough to determine that based on the gravamen of the subject matter, you want one committee, two committees, or leadership of a certain committee to join another committee. And that has always been our practice. But to rise up and say that under no circumstances will you go to this committee, under no circumstances will you go to the other committee, I think it's premature. It's premature. So I would plead with the minority chief whip. If you want the new committees to be constituted, let's do that. It is in your court. If you constitute new committees, wherever you take us, we will serve there and work for you. But such comments, I will plead with him. You should hold it, because as Mines and Energy ranking, when you refer to my committee and you make such a statement, it really hurts a little. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And quickly, how did the second deputy speaker who was presiding at the time rule on this?
The second deputy speaker did defy the chief whip. He referred this report to both the Lands and Natural Resources Committee as well as the then Mines and Energy Committee. But as we know now, per the new standing orders and per the new committees that have just been approved like an hour ago, there is no longer a Mines and Energy Committee. So that referral is now moved. The Speaker of Parliament himself took the chair, and Alassane Suhuyini did raise that issue on the floor, asking the Speaker to refer the agreement to only the Natural Resources Committee, because according to them, the Mines and Energy Committee is no longer functional. There's only an Energy Committee. The Speaker of Parliament did accept that request. He varied the referral that had earlier been made, and so the lithium mining agreement, as well as another bauxite mining agreement, has now been referred solely to the Lands and Natural Resources Committee, with the Speaker asking the leadership, including the chief whips, to join in and assist the committee.
I mean, what about the Speaker himself? Did he intervene at some point?
Yes, the Speaker of Parliament, like I was saying, did come in now and varied the order that had been made by the Deputy Speaker that report should go to both the Lands and Natural Resources Committee as well as the Mines and Energy Committee. Bagbin says that should no longer be the case. This should go straight to the Lands and Natural Resources Committee, which now has Alassane Suhuyini as the ranking member. And then the chief whips as well as other leadership should join in and assist.
My attention was drawn to referrals of some mineral agreements to Joint Committee on Lands and Energy, Lands and Energy Committees, Joint Committees. I have been looking at that referral and I've had discussions. And because of the critical nature of the subject matter, I proposed and leadership accepted that we should rather refer those agreements to the Lands and Natural Resources Committee with the additional directive that 4 members from the leadership of each side of the House should assist in the deliberation of the committee. Honorable members, these are critical agreements that will have to be scrutinized seriously. I will not participate in the debate, but I will be very vigilant because for some time now, I belong to the school of thought that believe that we have not benefited from the natural endowment that God has so much blessed this nation. And it's all because of the agreements that we enter into with these private sector investors. Please, this time around, we will not hesitate in rejecting any agreement that we believe is not in the interest of the nation. The new composition of the committees, as we realize, have...
Well, the speaker there talking about the composition of the new committees. I want to bring in Habib Idrisu, who's the Majority Chief Whip. Deputy joins us right now on the line. Mr. Idrisu, thanks for your time here on Newsnight.
Thank you.
I mean, there's been one criticism, in fact, not only criticism, but from your minority colleagues, as far as the committee responsible for finance is concerned, where Kuku Kwarteng was there. They had constantly in the public discussion said that the changes that had happened today, which obviously was as a result of the standing orders being changed, you were hiding behind that to remove him because of his opposition to the tax waivers. Is that what has happened?
No, that's far from the truth. We were actually not changing him for purposes relating to the tax waivers. If it was the case, we still have the right to have come before the floor, whether there was a new standing order or not, to change members of the committees or leadership of the committees from the majority side. In fact, the new standing orders, we were operating it partially because it has membership that vetted part of the some of the ministers that has just been approved, that we use the new standing orders to constitute the appointment committee. We use it to be able to, that's what is guiding us in Parliament at the moment. But it has actually not been fully operationalized as a result of the fact that members of various committees were not constituted. So the selection committee had, back and forth, and even if you look at it very well, you could see that some of the committees are chaired by people in the minority. It was always not the case because the majority used to chair where the minority used to be ranking. But with these new standing orders, you see that the minority are chairing some committees and the majority are being ranking in those committees. So it is never the case that it has been done and then hiding under it to change the chairman of the finance committee. If you quite remember, the majority leader had hinted some 2 weeks ago that the chairman of the finance committee, Kuku Kwarteng, will be taking a new role where he will be the spokesperson on the economy on the side of the majority. And we think that we should have been able to free him of that position.
But that is
because it's critical position.
Yeah, but
for
that is a demotion, is it not? I mean, a spokesperson on the economy from a chairman of a very powerful committee in Parliament, in the Finance Committee. They had wide-ranging powers, including supervising with the Finance Ministry and looking strictly at budgets that come before Parliament.
No, but he has done that for close to 4 years because he was the chairman of the Finance Committee until today. And then we have about 5 months to election, or 4 months to election. So we needed him, the experience he has had as Deputy Minister for Finance for 4 years, the experience he has had as the chairman, to blend it for us. He can handle issues that have to do with the economy. Mind you, when you look at the minority side, they always try to talk about the economy. We needed somebody who can be able to speak to us on that directive. And the majority, the most important thing is that the majority caucus hasn't done that changes or changed him in person because he was in opposition to something. He's part of the government, the majority caucus.
So he's going to be the spokesperson. He's going to be the spokesperson on economy now.
Yes,
and he couldn't have done that. He couldn't have done that as a chair.
He's a member of the economic committee too.
Yeah, but he couldn't have done that as a chair of the finance committee.
Yeah, because the chairman of the finance committee, is too busy to do certain things, and if we allow him to be the chairman, he might not have the time to be able to handle certain things for us.
In substance, what is the difference between this committee, this economic committee, and the finance committee you used to chair?
If you look at the economic committee, per our standing orders, it look at loans and other items as may deemed necessary by the Speaker reference. So the economic committee is separated from the finance committee. So majority of the loan agreements and other things now will be going to the economic committee, and other financial related issues will be going to the finance committee. I don't have my standing order with me where I could be able to relate with the portions of the standing orders that actually explain this position.
Thank you very much. And that there is Habib Idrisu. He is a Deputy Majority Whip in Parliament. Interesting changes in the House today on the back of the new standing orders taking effect. Let's hear from you. 055-1111-997.
Now, Evans, this afternoon, the Ghana Journalists Association, the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, and the Media Foundation West Africa today joined forces. They held a press conference seeking to condemn the increasing spate of irresponsible journalism in the country. Well, we'll take turns to hear the submissions of those who spoke at this particular press conference. And the Executive Secretary of the Media Foundation for West Africa, Suleimana Brahima, is urging media houses to exercise caution regarding an ethical statement made by some journalists in recent times. Now, he wants that such irresponsible utterances could lead to severe consequences, including the revocation of licenses. If we do not take a look at that, they would not wait for violations before they start speaking up about it. We can hear from the GJA president also, Albert Jumfo. He led on the part of the GJA, and he urged the media to fact-check information first off as we head into the elections. And he emphasized that accurate reporting is crucial for maintaining public trust and the credibility of journalism.
The GJA, GIBA, PRINPAC, Media Foundation for West Africa, a new media association, therefore caution all journalists, media practitioners, and media organizations to be cautious of their utterances and reportage on their platform to save the country from slipping onto the path of violence with its attendant consequences. It is important to note that this caution is not a gag on the right to free expression, given that there are decorous means and avenues for journalists and citizens to express their opinions loud and clear. I want to assure you all that we remain resolute in our defense for media freedom, and that requires us to also champion media professionalism. We will take this opportunity to also caution the media on the need to fact-check. Recently, we were embarrassed by the third event emanating from one Chef Smith reportage. We want to take this opportunity to advise all the media that henceforth, apart from corporate bodies, political parties, and identifiable groups, any persons or group of persons that invite the media for a press conference, editors must do well, need to carry out background check to ascertain their veracity before the assembly.
Well, we can also hear now from the Executive Secretary of the Media Foundation for West Africa, Suleiman Boamah.
That Media General, that Onua FM is a part of, is managed by reputable people. We know some of the people on the board of directors of Media General. And so, first of all, we are appealing to their conscience. And I know that I'm quite convinced that an action will be taken, because this is something that is just below the belt. And knowing the people that I know on the board and management of Onua FM, I think it would be quite surprising that they allow this to pass. As we always say, one of the most dangerous threats to press freedom or media freedom is unprofessional conduct. And so, as advocates of press freedom and media freedom, it would be very, very negligent on our part to look at things that could undermine press freedom and be quiet about it and only speak up when violations occur. So there are laws. I mean, the frequencies that have been given belong to the state. At any point in time, frequencies can be taken back. We do know that not too long ago, some 4 stations were shut down in Boku. Boku is part of Ghana. They are also FM stations. And so when people go overboard, the laws can be applied. You can be taken to court for defamation, and you have to defend yourself. If you go about, you breach the laws outrightly, your frequency can be taken back. And I don't think that we would at any point in time say, oh, anything goes. And so when frequencies are taken back, we say, oh, why are frequencies taken back? When your conduct is dangerous for the state, your conduct undermines our stability, our peace, and our democracy, I don't think that it's something that we would tolerate. And so it's important that we are mindful that there are laws regulating the industry, and therefore we cannot just do anything and say, because we are journalists, we will always want to be free.
I want to bring in the president of the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, Cecil Sinkwamils. He was also at this press conference and joins me right now. Cecil, thanks for your time here on Newsnight. What prompted this press conference?
Thank you, Evans. What prompted this was, I think, last weekend there was one of the presenters, popularly known as Captain Smart. Sorry, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. There was a video which was distributed on our platform. In the temperament and the content of that presentation, we found that quite extreme. So we had a meeting as a coalition, and we decided to come together and give one voice and one position on the nature of that broadcast that was done, which we found not acceptable.
But it begs the question, what really can the organization do? As in yourselves, you come together to form a coalition, but they are members of the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association. This is simply admonishing the media houses.
Well, we have been known very well in the past to fight very strongly, especially when media houses are trafficking with the phone. But in the same way, we believe that when media houses or journalists or presenters or hosts are pushing the extreme button, we need to voice it out. For GIBA and for GJA, we have our internal procedure, which we go according to on our code of conduct and then the code of ethics, where we have some punishment that will meted out. But some of the cases like this one, we thought we should handle it more publicly. Therefore, we see it as very fair when these things happen on both sides.
Well, the media organization in question is a member of GIBA. Have you directly spoken to their leadership there?
We have engaged. Just a point of correction. Onua TV is not a member, but Onua FM is a member. However, when these things happen, we tend to go for all stations.
And when you reached out to them, what was the point you're making to them? And did they take that in good faith?
We've had a number of discussions. It's not yet completed. They're going to come back to us with some kind of action. So we will stand by.
But what are you asking for? I'm curious.
For us, it is first of all, it is the concern of they're not a member, but basically the kind of broadcast that happened was completely against the code of conduct of broadcasting that is expected from one of their stations. This they acknowledged, but said they will come back. So we have outlined exactly where the dissatisfaction is and how extreme this can start up something. So we've had a discussion, and it's still ongoing.
I get a sense that you also want to name and shame.
Well, I believe that is what we've done, and it may not be the first and the last time, because I think it's very fair that when it is extreme, we actually voice it out. When it is not, then we also do.
What about getting the authorities involved, NCA, NMC? You still have a right to file an official complaint.
Well, let's see how it evolves, and then we will take it from there.
Thank you very much, Cecil. Cecil Sunkwamels is the president of Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association. On the press conference that was held jointly by themselves, the GJA, the Media Foundation for West Africa, they are concerned about the unprofessional conduct of journalists. What do you make of that? 055-11-11997.
Let's do business. George Riafe is here with the very latest from the world of business. George, what do we have?
Well, let me for coming up. Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Ernest Addison reveals Cedi has started responding to recent developments in the economy. And more oil firms are increasing prices of petroleum products at the pumps as most of them respond to depreciating local currency and rising price of crude on the international market. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Welcome back to business on Newsnight. Now, Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Ernest Addison has revealed that the city has started responding to recent developments in the economy. The local currency has struggled to stabilize against the US dollar despite government closing the deal with bilateral lenders and some progress made with other external creditors. However, the local currency is yet to show some strong recovery. But speaking at the SME Growth Opportunity Summit in Accra today, Dr. Addison noted that things have improved slightly.
Bank of Ghana has stepped up efforts to bring inflation under control, eliminate monetary financing of the budget, and rebuild foreign currency buffer. The gross international reserves position has improved. The level of reserves increased to about 6.59 billion, representing 3 months of import cover as at the end of April. The exchange rate, which recently came under some pressure, has begun to stabilize as uncertainty surrounding the progress of debt restructuring negotiations with external creditors had been eliminated, and the Bank of Ghana's gold purchase program has overperformed.
Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Ernest Addison. Now, Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam has described the 8 billion Ghana Cedis Growth and Opportunity Program as the largest SME fund initiative in the country. The Trade and Finance Ministries today jointly launched the initiative that will provide targeted funding to small businesses in the country. Initiative could provide up to 300,000 Ghana Cedis to each beneficiary. The Finance Minister Mohamed Amin Adam has been given details on how this initiative would be funded.
But this morning alone, we heard from the IFC announce the commitment of $400 million to this program. And we also heard from the African Development Bank another support of 45 million United States dollars. This is testament, ladies and gentlemen, to the confidence in the Ghanaian economy. To create a better ecosystem, our SMEs, our implementing partners, Ghana Enterprise Agency, Ghana Exim Bank, Development Bank Ghana, and IFC possess the expertise and capacity to deliver results swiftly. We have consulted with stakeholders, including the Association of Ghana Industry and Civil Society, design, selection criteria, and financing instruments tailored to meet the needs of high-growth potential SMEs.
Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam is the Minister of Finance. Now, more oil marketing firms are increasing prices of petroleum products at the pumps. The latest is Allied that has also adjusted values at their respective service stations across the country. There is more in the flowing Business Desk report. Allied Oil, for instance, is selling a litre of petrol are 13 Ghana cedis, 93 pesos. Diesel, on the other hand, is going for 14 Ghana cedis, 48 pesos. Joy Business understands that more oil marketing firms are working to also increase their prices at the pumps. We are also learning that some other oil marketing firms have priced based on the outlook for the Ghana cedi. This should mean that we could be witnessing more hikes in prices of petroleum products at the pumps in the coming weeks. Firms like the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers have argued that one of the surest ways to deal with this challenge is to look at reviewing some taxes on petroleum products in the country. The recent hikes could go a long way to increase the general prices of goods and services in the country and the cost of doing business, as well as living. And that is a Business Desk report. Now, majority of bank customers value quick in-branch service, with most of them pushing for shorter wait time with their respective banks. Now, that's according to the 2024 Ghana Banking Survey report released by accounting firm PricewaterhouseCoopers. Customers also expected that despite the strict regulation in the industry, they want more freedom to access their banks anytime. The survey also revealed that majority, approximately 42% of bank customers, chose WhatsApp as the everyday communication channel with their respective banks. Now, MTN Ghana is urging small and medium-sized companies to adopt digital solutions in their day-to-day operations to enhance efficiency. Abubakar Sadiq Mohammed, head of SME at MTN, urged entrepreneurs to stay abreast with time by investing in education. He spoke to Joy Business at the MTN's SME training and capacity building, which forms part of the telecom company's SME month.
SMEs must make it a point to make learning as something that it should be a continuous thing. They should be learning new skills. They should be learning about digitization. They should be learning about how they'll be able to access funding. Now we have AI. These are all tools available within the digital arena or landscape that they'll be able to adopt to be able to develop their businesses, and then they will be able to grow. Because we in the MTN, we are looking at how do we grow these SMEs and also how do they develop, because they need to grow before they can develop. So these are some of the things that we MTN is doing to ensure that we're able to support our SMEs.
Abubakar Sadiq Mohammed is head of SME at MTN Ghana. Now, Samsung is partnering with more financial institutions to help Ghanaians acquire mobile devices at affordable and convenient terms. The move is aimed at ensuring that more people have access to the newly launched artificial intelligence phones by Samsung. Marketing manager for Samsung Electronics, Tracy Chia, disclosed this to Joy Business at the launch of a new Frontier Galaxy AI infused with the series in Accra.
So what we've been doing since the S24 is we've partnered with a couple of financial institutions. Example is Stanbic, UMB, Access, and we're ready to bring on board more financial institutions who are able to give the devices for installment packages. So we have flexible financing for these devices. You can pay up to 24 months installment for the device. Some of the banks even offer interest-free financing. That's if you pay within 6 months. So these are some of the things that we're doing for the devices.
And is this open for all?
So it is open for those who save with the bank. Yes, and if you don't even save with the bank, you can always go to the bank and discuss with them which ways or which alternatives there is for you to get the device.
Tracy Che is the marketing manager at Samsung Electronics. And that's all for business on News Night.
And Joe, thank you very much. And I know one of the stories that you have been talking about all morning is the rising cost of fuel at the pumps.
Yeah.
And the projection is that if the city doesn't stabilize, then we're going to see prices climb even further.
Yeah, you're right on that one.
Okay. And all the other OMCs are now beginning to reflect.
Yeah, we have about 150 or about 200 oil marketing companies. We are looking at the major oil firms, and since morning they've done it. Shell has gone up. Star has gone up, and we're seeing the others also joining. Total will be going up soon. I think it's gone up or so by now. Gold hasn't gone up, but we could be seeing more of the firms doing these adjustments by the close of today and even going into tomorrow morning as well.
Well, this has become an issue in Parliament, and the minority has been speaking to this, asking the Vice President to step in and help address the challenge, which is something you've been reporting. The prices of petrol is now at 15 cedis.
Yeah, about 10, 15, 52, 15, 70 for some as well.
The minority spokesperson on Mines and Energy, John Jinapo, says instead of calling for debate, the vice president must ensure the cedi is stabilized and fuel prices are reduced.
Today, as you may be aware, the price of a liter of fuel is higher than it used to be for a gallon of fuel. During our time, the gallon of fuel was about 14 cedi. Today, a liter is about 15 point something cedi. The Gold for Oil program, our checks indicate that it's causing serious financial loss to the state. As if that is not enough, the exchange rate is depreciating. As if that is also not enough, fuel prices keep going up. Last week it went up, this week it's gone up. This will certainly impact inflation, it will impact productivity, and it will make the cost of living high. And it's all because of the exchange rate. And so clearly, government has lost it. Government is unable to handle the exchange rate. And I think that the managers of the economy ought to sit up and do what is right and proper. Whilst the Bank of Ghana is spending millions of cedis and dollars on the Gold for Oil program, the currency is not stabilizing. The cedi is depreciating, fuel prices are going up, cost of living is going up, and everybody is suffering. But worst of all, wages and salaries are stagnating. Wages and salaries are not going up. And so, hitherto, under President Mahama, whilst you could buy 2 bags of rice with your minimum wage, today you cannot even buy 1 bag of rice with your minimum wage. The managers of the economy have lost it. And I think that Dr. Boamah, instead of calling for a debate, he should rather spend some time to concentrate on managing the economy. Because the cost of living is going through the roof. We cannot continue like that.
And I want to take you to the Shanti region still on this particular matter, where the United Drivers Association in the region say vehicle owners are taking back their vehicles following the dwindling sales owing to the recent fuel price hikes. The union disclosed the rising cost of fuel has rendered the commercial transport business unprofitable, with the sector experiencing near collapse. There's more in this report.
Prices of fuel have increased at some pump stations, selling at 15 Ghana cedis 10 pesos. The incessant increase in fuel is impacting the commercial transport sector as some drivers make losses. Spokesperson for the United Drivers Association Ashanti, Eric Darcy, says some vehicle owners are repossessing their cars, leaving many drivers jobless. Many drivers have parked their cars not because of their bad attitude. The owners have taken their cars back. Maintenance is now expensive. The drivers are using their daily sales for fuel. Some commuters are frustrated by the unending fuel price surge. How much are we earning as citizens?
Within the month now, the folk are over 500 cities.
The government must do something.
For now, What's
the essence of the toll? Until the city gains stability against the dollar, commuters and drivers will continue to bear the ripples of fuel price hikes. For JoyNews, my name is Emmanuel Bright Kweku.
And I'll be sharing your thoughts on that and more here on Newsnight pretty shortly. But let's do sports now. Ms. Bowers here with the latest.
Yeah, events tomorrow. There's a big game. It's the maiden edition of the Democracy Cup coming up at the Accra Sports Stadium between Kumasi Asante Kotoko and the Accra Heart of Folk. Now, the game is in celebration, marking the 30th anniversary of Ghana's Parliament. And both clubs, coming off disappointing seasons, are eager to claim the new Democracy Cup trophy and bring some joy to their fans. They held a press conference ahead of the game tomorrow, and captain of both sides, Kumasi Asante Kotoko goalkeeper Frederick Asari, and of Accra Heart of Folk captain Kevin Osei-Sibe have been promising some excitement at the Accra Sports Stadium come tomorrow evening.
It's a new era. Players are out, new players are in. And as the coach said, we've trained well. What has happened is something of the past. And tomorrow the narrative is going to change. From from tomorrow, the narrative about House winning the cup is going to change.
When you talk about House of Folk, it's about the supporters. Supporters in the House of Folk, House of Folk.
Yeah, so that's the big game coming up. Evans, so the game is at 6 p.m. But before that game comes off, there's going to be a game between the former Black Stars and the members of Parliament. And that's something you might want to see.
I'm looking forward to this.
They're not sure which parliamentarian would like to see play kick the ball.
I'm not sure. It would be quite an
I want to see Aaron Idrisu because
Aaron Idrisu looks.
He's very sporty.
Yeah, it looks in shape. Sporty. But you can imagine the other members of Parliament, running around on the pitch. We must have at least 5 ambulances on standby. How the defibrillators ready to go.
How the minority leader can set or fair to, it'd be nice to see.
We'll see.
Yeah, even well, that's the update we'll go for you.
Well, thank you very much. And the winner of the JoyNews Impact Makers Award in Rural Livelihood Empowerment, Dr. Kwame Sakwa Edu, says he will dedicate his prize money to further improving rural Ghana. Now, Dr. Edu is topping up his prize money to buy bicycles for 10 pupils in Donkokrom in the Kwehu Afram Plains North District of the Eastern Region of Ghana. He made this revelation when he paid a courtesy call on the Joy Newsroom. There's more in the following report.
JoyNews Impact Maker, Livelihood Empowerment, Dr. Kwame Sakwa Edu.
Awarded at the second edition of the JoyNews Impact Makers Award for his dedication to improving rural livelihoods across Ghana and beyond, Dr. Kwame Sakwa Edu has tirelessly promoted beekeeping as a sustainable income source for rural communities such as Donkokrom in the Kwehu Afram Plains district in the Eastern Region. He explained to Joy News the inspiration behind what he does.
The big project started with honey hunters, like you heard from my bit. They went into the Bija National Park, and they went there in the night to fell trees and kill bees and harvest honey. That was illegal. They got caught. They were sent to court and fined and imprisoned. So we intervened and just told them, you could do this at your backyard. Keep bees at your backyard and make money.
He also announced plans to top up his cash prize of 4,000 cedis to buy bicycles for children in Donkokrom and surrounding communities in the Eastern Region.
Children walk 5 kilometers in, and when they close, so I decided, I started some, maybe 5 years, I'm not sure. I've given 2 tranches of 10 bicycles to those school children. So this award, I'm going to top it up. I'm topping it up. I'm going to buy 10 bicycles to the children in Donkokrom area.
General Manager of Joy Brands of the Multimedia Group, Fifi Kumsin, pledged the company's support towards the works of impact makers such as Dr. Edu.
Like Kweku said, we will be very glad to cover, all the same presentations and, around this. Yeah. And you also have, I think, some airtime. You have a lot of airtime on our platforms.
Nicknamed the Honey Man, Dr. Edu and his team made sure every member of the newsroom had a taste of honey.
Yeah, I really enjoyed my honey. Did you get your honey?
Yes, I did.
You did, okay. I did something very interesting with it over the weekend. I'll tell you after here. So live your news time.
I want to know. Tell me now.
It's honey.
It doesn't look like it was food. You didn't eat it.
I did. It's what I used the honey for.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It didn't go through your mouth. I'm sure it went somewhere else. What did you do?
I will tell you.
Okay.
Organized Labour have been fighting, and they won a major victory over the last 48 hours, compelling government, the board and management of the Social Security and National Insurance Trust to cancel the controversial sale of 60% stake in 4 top hotels. Well, a nationwide strike by all public sector workers, including doctors and nurses, nearly shut down the country yesterday. Now, Organized Labour is vowing to unleash its full force in the new era of advocacy and protest against broader issues of national concern. Listen to the president of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, Angel Kabonu, give us a breakdown of what they decided at the meeting that they held on this.
Labour has not been sleeping. Labour has been engaging. But we've gotten to a point where engagement is not yielding results, and Labour ought to take certain actions. As you move down the line, as you move down the path, you re-strategize, you redirect your path, you recalibrate your strategies, and then you take actions accordingly. Evans, I want to assure you, like my brother Dr. Nyaku said, yes, we'll prioritize issues, but issues that will affect labor, issues that will affect our families, issues that will affect our nation, will raise our voices. And we expect the people we put at the helm of affairs to listen to us because they are working for us.
Well, Dr. Kwabena Nyakoto is the Director of Research and Policy at the Trade Union Congress, says a new era will include a renewed dedication to protests.
Or simply to dialogue. So you remember that in 2018, we led an initiative to establish the a social partnership council. And the idea was that we were prioritizing dialogue. We have come to a point where we've realized that nobody was actually listening to us. We were talking. We put boots on the ground, stay on the street for 3 days. Because we've also come to the realization that one day, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Demonstration, people don't really fear. So if we have to now organize ourselves and make sure that we can stay on the street for 3 days to get what we want.
So that's the new era for organized labor. Protests that we're going to be seeing across the country, and a bit more advocacy on some of the key issues, Galamsey, also sanitation and others. Let's go through a few of your messages before we wrap up. And this one from Heteka from Agonu says, in fact, fuel prices are going high in the country, so this MPP government must stabilize the city. And his view there is on that particular subject. And then talking about what we've seen when it comes to the mindset of MPs. This is Tanimu in Boku, says, I'm alarmed by the mindset of our MPs for introducing the bill, and this is the bill on that will give the MPs a right to use their vehicles with sirens and also jump red lights. Their proposed bill to allow themselves to use their sirens is unnecessary, is his opinion on that. And a final one, just before we go, on the subject of journalists and professionalism, Justice says, I'm glad the media houses have done the right thing by ensuring that journalists adhere to the ethics of their work. The problem I personally have noticed in some radio stations in the Volta region is that radio presenters have become journalists by force, and they are using unprofessional presentation. But there's one gentleman who is very professional. You probably will see him if you read myjoyonline.com. Today he's joining us with a very interesting conversation coming up. MFL, who is this gentleman?
Kenneth Awoche is hosting Geek Squad tonight. Ken, what are we talking about?
Today we are talking about some new product that Samsung launched last week. We've been expecting them for quite some time now. There have been leaks, but they're officially out now. And
we all know where you stand when it comes to Samsung, so we'll just be waiting.
They're Galaxy products.
Stay for
But you have to stay for the rest of the details. Of course.
You know, the thing is that I love gadgets. I just can't afford them.
What? You can't afford, please.
You may be able to afford these ones, so just stick around and listen.
I mean, would they come and give us some 0%?
Evans, relax.
Stay for the Geek Squad.
Geek Squad up next.